Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So just left Cali. Boy, woo! So like California. The quake energy there is strong. So I was holding it so I could get out, and I don't know what's going to happen now, but I'm expecting the ground is going to shake all the way over here in Nevada here pretty soon. So. And who knows? Maybe not. Maybe you guys in Cali will be able to get together and pray, and it won't happen. But it's really looking like it's gonna. All right, so let's look at some of the things that are going on out there. Just had a 5.5 off the coast of Oregon, in that area where we're expecting Cascadia basically to create a tsunami. And usually when it happens, a fairly significant quake like happened today happens right after the full moon, the strawberry moon, right? So right after that, usually there is activity, which there was with that full moon. So, so we had a 5.5 out there. And next we're going to have a planetary alignment. All right, so lots of planets are lining up. So it's looking like something. And so we need to just be aware of the possibility of, things getting a little jiggy out there. Okay, so let's look at Mr. MBB 333. He had a little show about this, and let's play it and see. So he basically does a planetary alignment of what's coming.
Soon as we entered full moon phase, and we know how the full moon influences the planets, especially the Earth, not the planets, but it plays a part in the planetary alignment situation whenever the Earth is in these unique alignments. And we are again. And we have another full moon, just like we did last month. And look, we had the earthquake off the coast of Oregon, a 5.5 right here, just as the full moon was coming up over the horizon. Unbelievable. I mean, the timing was impeccable. This one here down in southern Illinois, are you kidding me right now? Illinois is definitely not known for earthquake activity. I mean, really? Yes, really. And then an earthquake in central South Carolina. I mean, wow. Look at right through there. That's why I drew that line. There was a big old arc that went right through North America here in the United States. And there's what was that, a 3.5? I mean, that is unheard of. Man. Madrid. And here's the one in North. They do have earthquakes in South Carolina from time to time. They didn't used to have. It's kind of a new thing. But yeah, earthquakes popping off. So just be aware, guys. That is going on. And with these, let me show you the planetary alignments that we're in. It's very similar to the situation that we were in about 30 days ago, 28 days ago. Here we go. I'm going to show you guys what's up. I look at the planetary alignments all the time. And this is going to for sure. So here we go. This is the current situation of the planets. Mercury is right there in retrograde. Those of you that follow Mercury in retrograde, yes, it's in retrograde right now. But not these planetary alignments. We've still got Earth and Mercury over here sharing the same side of the sun. Earth is in an alignment here, and it's not straight line. They have to be off center. There's another one there. Those all involve gas giants. The main component capacitor, the main one is the sun. That one right here. Earth.
All right. So it's Earth, Mercury, and Jupiter, the big planet with the big spot on it. So Venus, the sun, all that alignment right there is probably going to pull some energy as it usually does. So put some the energy coming from the sun. We've had lots of energy coming from the sun. That's also been sparking some of these earthquakes. And it's not looking so good for big earthquakes, or depending on how you look at it. It's looking real good for big earthquakes, but not for those people who are on the receiving end of it. So you have to, trust your intuition. We're in that time where you're going to be challenged, I think, on many different levels. And one of those levels will be the Earth activity that's going on. So trying to stay safe, keep your people safe, and so forth is going to be challenging for some because, you know, they're not really tapped in. And then some will get trapped and won't do well, right? And this is what happens whenever we go through these periods. These periods have happened, you know, throughout, you know, thousands of years here on Earth, tens of thousands of years, and we're coming into a very, very major cycle. So just heads up, be very, very, you know, cognizant of what's going on out there. Here's another, you know, expert that's sharing some really good information. He's been doing a really good job of showing the slow slip. So let's listen to what the Earth Master has to say.
Out here is greater across the southern end than at an entirety there across the Cascadia. So watching this closely, a 5.5 off the coast of Oregon. Have we seen 5-pointers out here before? Obviously, yes, we have. But, you know, each day, each second that goes by, we're that much closer to seeing a big earthquake out here. The tremor counts have been way elevated underneath this region. We're already seeing stress quakes down here. Following this event, 2.3, 14.7 miles deep here. Remember, what goes on up here along this strike slip boundary heads the general motion of stress kind of goes down in this fashion here towards the southern end. So we're already seeing, like I said, a couple earthquakes down here into the Cascadia, probably right around the locked area. It looks like about 14 miles deep underneath this area. Let me show you guys the tremor map here from the past week here. Now, this is the past week. We got 3,127. That's a good number. Definitely an elevated number. But here's yesterday's counts, which were the highest so far in the daily accumulation there of slow slip events. A little bit underneath Washington, underneath Seattle, but the majority of these events here over the last week and yesterday underneath Northern California and the southern coast here of Oregon. So stress building right here. You got
so you saw what those lots of those little slow slip events are. See what that area is. That's right on the border of Oregon and California, just above Eureka. Right. So that is where the earthquake activity comes down into this area and creates larger earthquakes. So again, like I've said, I believe we're going to have a tsunami and probably the Andreas kick. And then maybe other faults will kick eventually, the Hayward fault. So it's going to be a domino effect. That's what I've seen in my visions for this area. Whether it happens, you know, sooner than maybe later, it's going to happen. It's building. We're getting close. Now, a lot of people have predicted this for, you know, decades, right? But, and I've looked at this stuff for decades and, you know, watched the other people predicting this and so forth. Things change, all right? So people get involved, I think, consciousness-wise and change things. But there's a lot of distractions these days, a lot of distractions. And what used to be, I believe, people that were very tuned in to these vibrational activities and, you know, the frequencies and so forth, and were able to allay them, you know, push them and push them to another date. I think we're reaching the end of, you know, how we can push these. They're going to have to like come out. They're going to have to be relieved. And this is part of the cycle. Like I said, the earth energies and so forth. The earth is going through changes as well. So they build up over time, build up over hundreds of years, sometimes 1,000 years, like some of these. The San Andreas fault, I guess, has, you know, of course, it's had some shocks over the years, but the overall buildup stretches for 1,000 years. So it's looking like we're going to get some serious activity. Everything is pointing to now the earthquake activity we're seeing right now, the energy volumes that are coming off the sun, the electrical energies and so forth. This, you know, streams of plasma that are coming from the sun that's impacting the earth. It energizes the earth and then it gets impacted again, energizes it higher. We see earthquake activity and volcanic activity happening. It gets hit again. It energizes even more and more and more and more earthquake and volcanic activity. That cycle is not going to stop for a while. All right. So again, the slow slip, quakes that are happening on a massive level, and then right down in here is usually where we have the earthquakes later on.
And in the middle point here, that's where the stress is building. That's where the locked section is. So yeah, there's a lot going on out here around the globe here, and all these subduction zones and areas that have been building up stress and strain for a couple hundred years are starting to get big earthquakes. Good possibility it could be our turn out here along the West Coast. Just have to be on guard. We'll check out the tremor counts out here a little bit later on this evening. Once they come out, it's about 6 o'clock in the evening there, early evening.
All right, so we're 6 o'clock. Could be checking them, or maybe he's already checked them. So I'm going to check back and see, what he has as far as tremor counts. Now, tremor counts leading to big earthquakes, that's something that happens. And we saw on the opposite side, the antipode side, there was I think it was a 4.5. I checked this out in USGS. There was a 4.5 in Indonesia, 4.4, 4.5 earthquake in Indonesia. So the antipode would have been Venezuela, where it struck. So I know a lot of people think it's a flat Earth. I don't believe it's flat Earth. I believe it's roundish something Earth, right? Because of the way things are interacting. If it was a straight line, flat Earth, it wouldn't interact the way it is, where we're seeing antipode on the opposites of the globe, earthquake activity from one that happens, right? So 4.4 in Indonesia, and then the 7.2, and some are saying 7.3, 7.8, whatever they are, right? That the USGS decides to tell us, right? For the earthquake activity, it was big, right? It was big, massive, deformation of the plates and so forth. Now let's look at some of the updated devastation. As you can see here, this is a little drone flight. Now look at all of these buildings, how they've collapsed. Do you guys see any steel in there? No. They built these, the communists are thieves, right? They built these buildings not to code. And we're going to talk, we're going to see some we're going to be talking about this, but this is part of communism, and the United States is going communist. All right, the communists are starting to take over control of America. So no steel in these buildings. There's probably might be some steel in these pillars. That might be why they did not collapse. But those other buildings, as you guys could see, just completely collapsed. And of course, the numbers of people that are missing is still pretty significant, depending on where you're looking, who's giving the information out. It's same as the Twin Towers. Something else happened with the Twin Towers. So all the steel that was in the Twin Towers, they cut that, and directed energy weapons and so forth. I don't see them using directed energy weapons on all those buildings. I just think they really shook that place, right? And I do think it was HARP that was used, probably HARP that came from Antarctica, right? So we know that the Nazis went down to Antarctica. The Nazis are trying to take over the world. President Trump is not a Nazi, and he's trying to help Venezuela break free from the Nazis, and they just basically gave Venezuela a little taste of what it's like to not be with the Nazi system anymore, right? So will California get that taste? Because I don't know, because California is going Nazi. They're going communist. So I don't know. Maybe California's not going to go through that, or maybe they will, because California and the Nazis that are in California and the communists that are in California, it's one and the same really to me, are pretty much, you know, of the belief that they're serving the master and the master is going to take care of them. All right. Lucifer does not do that. All right. Lucifer uses you as long as he can, and then he cuts you free. And sometimes, and oftentimes, when he cuts you free, he destroys you and everyone that's like you that was, you know, serving him, because that's the way he is. Right. So, you know, people get fooled into believing that they're going to be protected, and maybe some of them are to a certain extent until they're no longer useful. But that's the way that system works. Now let's look at what the problem was with these buildings. These buildings, you're looking at 800 buildings that have collapsed or in you know, or have had problems. You know, 300, I think over 300, maybe 600 or something like that, completely collapsed. And then there's 800 total that are in, you know, to the point where they're going to have to be probably torn down. So that's more than a direct energy weapon. That's more than people coming in and putting thermite into steel structure. That's, you know, and then once the steel that's left, they come in with trucks and they take it out and they put it on the docks and they ship it up to China as fast as they can, so that people can see the deformation. We saw some of the deformation. People have reported on that. I've got a book on that, the deformation from the directed energy weapon, and it basically causes these crazy vortexes that you see in tornadoes. Tornadoes will cause portaling type portaling, and that's how buildings get sucked into and blast into nothingness. Or a 2x4 will, you know, go through the air and stick. It looks like it's gone through the air and stuck in a building. Well, that building at that point has gone plasma-like, and the 2x4 comes in there, and then the energy goes, and then it's like it froze in there. Because if a 2x4 did hit the building, it would shatter. But you're seeing these 2x4s that are stuck in the building perfect, right? There's lots of examples of that, and that's from the vortex energy that's happening. With vortex energy, did vortex energy happen in Venezuela? On some level, deep within the earth, I believe. This is what HARP does. Creates some kind of vortexual energy. Then they focus it on fault zones, and then those fault zones fail, like we saw, right? Now, if it was stored up energy, like normally happens in an earthquake, you would see massive numbers of aftershocks right afterwards. And we haven't seen that. We've seen a few, and maybe those few that we've seen have been stimulated to go as well. I don't know. But maybe they're aftershocks for real because they stimulated that fault. But you would think if it was real energy that was, well, you don't have to think about it. It's science, right? When the energy is there and the fault goes, the energy continues to release and release and release and release, you know, hundreds, thousands of tremors afterwards. We haven't seen that there. So another thing that leads me to believe that that was, and I felt that right away as an intuitive. I was like, that was HARP that did that. All right. So, all right. So let's look at some other information about this, because I'm always researching and I try and find the best for you guys and for myself as well. So this is On the Pulse with Silky. All right, she does a really good job. Let's look at what she has to say about this.
Perspective. So let's talk about the debris And let's talk about what they're finding. So some say this could be the reason why the towers are all falling in the same way. Did they cut corners? Many are built by the same project, by the same contractor. Many contractors are from out of country. We've heard that. Some from Russia, some from China. We cannot identify which tower right now that fell was built by whom, but definitely destruction in some development projects where we do know that and that might have received criticism. As an example, the Hugo Chavez housing complex, you see the image here where one is still standing and then you see the rubble in front of it, but all these images here are from that complex. 7,000 people reside there. It's reported that the vast majority of the structures collapsed. So you have to imagine, of the 193 buildings, only 3 remained standing.
All right, so there's Hugo. All right, so Hugo Chavez, communist. I remember a film where a guy was talking about how he was friends with Chavez, had supported Chavez. He was a wealthy man. And Chavez turned on him and said that he was going to take, and he told all the people that he was going to take his home. And he had a very luxurious condo and, one of these high-rise, buildings. I guess they're very popular there in Venezuela. So everybody has a nice view, has a pool and so forth, go out to the beach. Who wouldn't want that? And so in this area, they had a lot of that. So a lot of these buildings collapsed. And they collapsed and a lot of these buildings, like she's talking about, were built by Chavez, right? The communists. So this guy basically said, yeah, I'm coming for your buildings. I forget the guy's name. Will say Hugo, all right? Hugo, I'm coming for your buildings, or whatever his name was. And he said, I remember in the documentary, he was like, I couldn't believe it. I had supported him. And how many people in Hollywood, how many people that are very wealthy throughout California have supported the Democrat Party, right? The Communist Party. And this is very, and we've already seen the result of that. Directed energy weapons have come into California and have decimated California, several cities in California, Paradise, on and on and on, Malibu, all up and down the coast. And I've seen some of it. I went and looked at some of it, and I'm like, this is absolutely a directed energy weapon. I could see it. I could see the way it had gone through a fencing and had melted the fencing and had gone through and melted a beautiful tree that was a palm that was on the other side of this fence and went down into this valley and took out several homes, while the other homes that were not in the line, obviously, of the aircraft that was directing the directed energy weapon couldn't get to the other houses. But the fencing on either side of this area was perfect, and the fencing, still standing, of course, was melted where the directed energy went through. I mean, it's so freaking obvious. It's unbelievable, right? Pacific Palisades, it's the homes there. The trees are all around, and the homes are melted to nothing, dustified, right? You have ceramics and marble and porcelain and all that stuff, metals, dishwashers, everything gone, nothing left, right? Just dust. So that's directed energy weapon. Now here, you don't see everything dustified. So this is real earthquake activity. Now, the problem with this building, 193 buildings, only 3 standing. Hello, all right? So the way they were built. So the communists always cut corners, all right? So, or, devastate to the point where they can come in and take over. So I don't know, maybe they're devastating here so they can come back and take over. I don't know. So it is very tragic. No steel. like I pointed out, there's no steel. And there's some of the buildings you can see the steel, and those are the ones that are still standing, but the ones without steel. Now, there might be a little bit of steel in here. You know, is that from not building material? Is that from something else? All right. So some kind of steel poles there, but I don't think that's building material. So we're going to look at this a little bit more. So what did they use instead of steel?
According to reports. So experts are now pointing out that among the possible causes of the disaster would be the low quality of the materials, the lack of supervision when they were built, and the absence of anti-seismic construction rules.
Now, they had in 1967 a very massive earthquake that dropped a lot of buildings. So you would think that they would have, you know, updated building codes. Obviously not, because they're communists and they cut corners.
I mean, 193 buildings, only 3 standing. That is bad, to say the least. So we do have complaints and images emerging that the columns of the buildings that were built only in 2011, I mean, they should have learned from the 1967 earthquake that gave a similar picture. And they did say that they would revise codes and build to better standards. So Hugo Chavez, development area 2011. So they say they would have used light materials such as expanded polystyrene, EPS called, or anime in parts of their construction. So the initial purpose of that housing development was to relocate thousands of people affected by the heavy rains of 2010 and to give access to homes for low-income families. So, of course, they were not luxury apartments. Of course, if you see the images of the rubble here, it really looks like, I mean, you wouldn't even build a sandcastle with that. That would not hold up. But then there's other people that say information needs to be corroborated. That material, EPS, is used in construction, but not on columns. And they're giving...
So, as you can see here, there's the differences in the, you know, they have steel, and over here they have this not completely styrofoam, but like a very highly pressed styrofoam type material. And you're going to see, and it looks pretty obvious the way those buildings pancake down, that they did not use steel and that they used this pressed styrofoam type stuff.
Images. So yeah, it's the question, where was it used? Other people say, no, the load-bearing columns of a building should never be filled with expanded example images. So yeah, it's the question, where was it used? Other people say, no.
So here you see there is rebar, but in those other buildings that were pancaked, looks like not so much. All right, so you can see in this building, looks like some steel rebar that's quite twisted. Probably wasn't up to code, so it you know, got twisted very easily. All right, so I don't know. Maybe this stuff happens in, you know, these types of earthquakes. I don't, you know, the energy of these earthquakes, the way things move, the way the earth moves. But for a lot of those buildings, you're not seeing any steel rebar or steel columns. You're seeing steel rebar with these concrete, or maybe some of these are the styrofoam type stuff.
Bearing columns of a building should never be filled with expanded polystyrene, like anime. If a column that supports the weight of a building were filled with anime, the structure would collapse immediately. Anime has no structural strength. So his estimate is what you're probably seeing in the video, or what is causing the confusion, is due to these real construction methods. So lost formwork. Sometimes anime is used as an internal mold to shape certain decorative concrete elements or hollow beams, but the weight is supported by steel and concrete on the outside. Expansion joints between two adjacent buildings or structures, an anime sheet is usually placed. So this serves to prevent the two buildings from colliding and destroying each other when it shakes.
All right, so here you see he's coming in and he's just taking this apart with his hand. All right, so that's obviously not steel, right? And it's not concrete. It looks like it was pressed probably in where steel and concrete should be.
Or the concrete expands due to heat. The weight is supported by the beams, not the anime. So what you're seeing in the video is not a load-bearing column. So I hope that this is the case. It makes sense, right? So
all right. So it looks like this poor building materials were used, and that's why you're seeing the devastation there. What's it going to look like in Cali, right? Especially LA, not all of LA, because I believe that they do have good building codes, but we know that we've had the Democrats have been running the show for quite some time, guys, and they cut corners. They get, they let their illegal buddies come in and build and so forth. The fraud is over the top with the Democrats. We could see some very massive devastation in California, just like we saw in Venezuela. Probably not on the level of Venezuela, unless we get a much higher, a wave count, like 8.8 or something like that, like we saw in Russia about 10 months ago. So if we get something like that off the coast, and then we get a pancaking or domino effect going from fault to fault, which is something I've seen, then you could see something like that throughout Seattle, Oregon, Portland, because they're all Democrats have been in those states for a long time, right? And down into California. If it goes all the way down into LA, I would be surprised if we don't see massive devastation. And we saw massive devastation with a lot less with the bridges, pancaking down on top of in the Northridge earthquake. That was pretty devastating. So it's sad that to see these people trapped, including pets and babies. God be with those rescue workers. So unfortunately, at this point, there's not going to be many people found alive, because you have up until about the first 48 hours, 72 hours at the most, to rescue people. So we're past that point. Yes, there'll probably still be people that are going to be found alive miraculously, and that's awesome. But you're going to find a lot more that are not alive at this point, a lot more. So they're looking at, still looking at maybe upwards of 70,000 people, I think, that are still missing. Last I saw was like, I think 1,800 are deceased at this point. Over 3,000 are injured. So those numbers are going to pale in comparison if a Cascadia fault slip. Right? So a tsunami that's coming in, because most people are along the coast, both coasts. So people and businesses and so forth are mostly on the coast. Now, there's not only people and businesses and so forth that are along the coast, but there's also a lot of refineries. So the refineries could get hit and they catch on fire, and that causes even more devastation. The power grid goes down, so it's harder to get around. There's road deformation, so emergency vehicles can't get around. So there's going to be some serious consequences of that would happen, the massive earthquake activity in the West Coast. All right, so I told you guys about how I was in Coronado one time where there was earth. I had been working for a couple of days, so I was I was living in a condo overlooked Glorieta Bay, very beautiful area, Coronado. Hotel and, you know, the towers, and had a great view of the bay. And out in the bay, further out in the Mount Gloria Bay, further out in the San Diego Bay, some of the and a dragger dive, and they got thrashed around, and I was like shaking in my bed. I was like, you know, ran outside and then stopped and was like, okay. I think that was my first big earthquake, and you know, went back inside and everything was good. Of course, I'm an Navy SEAL. I went right back to sleep. So anywhere, it's amazing. So I heard later, guys were like talking about, oh, we were thrashed around, and we came to the surface. We thought like a tugboat went over, and we're like, we came up to bitch at the guys. The guys are supposed to be looking out and make sure, you know, no boats came over us. And, you know, they're on the surface. They're like, what are you guys coming up for? And they're like, didn't you guys feel that? And they're like, no, there's nothing happened. Get back down there, get back on the dive. So that was pretty wild. So let me show you what it looks like when you're underwater. I've never experienced, but these guys were talking about it. When an earthquake happens. So this is a 7.2 earthquake. So along the same lines as what they experienced, and even greater, of course, in Venezuela. And then I'm going to show you a video of coral and fish and everything, because you're going to see everything get thrashed around in this dive, and how that got just basically uplifted onto the beach, and the beach was lifted higher. Deformation. So this is something slowly, and then you're going to have very rapidly, and that's going to cause a tsunami, right? And that's going to cause, because it drops, there's going to be a lower, the level along the coast is, you know, at a certain level right now. It's going to be lower on the West Coast, whereas here it was lifted. So let's look at this, and you guys get to see what it's like to be underwater when there is an earthquake. So you saw how we're like, you know, like just, and you're going to see in this next video, this woman that's walking along the coast of Venezuela, you know, a few days now after the earthquake, of what the coastline looks like in Venezuela after the earthquake. So fish washed up on shore, coral washed up on shore, and boulders. I don't know if the boulders were like thrust up from underneath the earth, or if they came ashore from under. Wow. Check this out.
You can smell, like, look at this. A lot of dead crabs. Dead stuff. There's fishes. This is crazy, guys. This is like, all this is so flat. Look at them. So you can smell like all the dead fishes. Yeah, dead. Hello, you have dead fish and how do you call the stingrays?
So this beach was flat, and you can see lots of coral got smashed and washed up along with the fish and some boulders. Crazy.
It's like a hill now.
So as you can see here, it was layers. So it broke, it pushed up, and you know the way it's probably going to happen on the West Coast. You're going to see this on a very, very massive level.
That's amazing, though. This, guys, this is total destruction. Look at this, guys. Look at her. That is incredible. Incredible. It's crazy. When I tell you that that earthquake was so powerful and it destroyed this part of Trinidad, all this is due to the earthquake. All that. Guys, the more I'm taking it in and I see what they've done to the beach, I see what they've done to Venezuela, the feel so upset about it. To see Venezuela was already going through so much, and now what they have to go through. Thank God that this part of the beach didn't have any houses or anything. So the only damage was on this part of the beach. Thank God for that.
So this wasn't even Venezuela. I'm just realizing this. So this is Trinidad. So wow. So the we saw that the other islands were getting earthquakes too, but where there was a place where it struck off the coast. So it did cause a lot of damage. So there was at one time there was tsunami threat, and they canceled it. But it does look like it pushed that coral up and so forth. So there must have been some kind of tsunami, some kind of beach deformation, Trinidad Tobago area. So wow, that's not even Venezuela. And I did see some. I thought it was the same thing. I did see some that were deformation in Venezuela that was massive scale, where it had slipped and slipped and slipped and slipped, pushed the beach up, and it had like broken and broken and broken. So there is some of that in Venezuela, some of the Venezuelan beaches as well. So crazy things that happen with this earthquake. And the same thing would happen, of course, in Cali. Now in Cali, Cali, in Cali, in California, it was a lot of California was built off of gold rush, silver, so oil, and still California, and they're not tapping into it that they could. There is massive amounts of oil in California, underneath the California. And in some areas, in some cities, they actually have buildings that hide oil wells. So let me show you this. Again, the fraud, corruption in California, it's all about They had environmentalists come in, so they don't want to, like, you know, have any oil wells and so forth. So they're trying to like do away with all that and go green. It's all BS. You look at Europe right now, they went super green. And now they're, I saw in France, there was like 1,000 people have died. I don't know if those numbers are correct, but they said there was over 1,000 people that have died from the heat sensationalism. But, and that's because France decided not to, you know, have any air conditioners because they wanted to have a low carbon footprint. So the stupidity of these communists and leftists is extreme. They do not care about people. They have like these airy-fairy ideas. I've seen this. Some of these people come and make, you know, decisions in combat zones and so forth. Very frustrating. CIA types. You know, for the most part, I was lucky. I worked around, you know, very high-speed people. We didn't do any of that, right? But there's a lot of people trying to make stupid-ass decisions, and that's what California is all about right now.
The oil at La Brea is still seeping. It has not stopped for 40,000 years, and it is not stopping now. The 20,000 wells beneath Los Angeles County are still there, most idle, some active, all still sunk into the same basin that Doheny tapped with a telephone pole in 1892. And if the economics ever shift, if technology gets cheaper, if prices rise, if the calculus changes, the oil field that built Los Angeles once before could do something nobody in this city is currently expecting. It could change everything again.
Okay, so we know that oil generates. They lie, you know, just like they do a lot of stuff, guys. They lied to us. It was from fossil plants that for millions of years had formed and had died, and then got pressurized by the earth on top of them. I don't know how they were on the surface and then they got down deep, but somehow they got pressurized, and then they created this oil. And that oil was, we were told back in the 70s, was going away, right? There was only so much of it. Now, fast forward a little bit to when I was a Navy SEAL and I was running operations, teaching guys how to do, you know, oil platform takedowns, like I'd learned at SEAL Team 6. So I came to SEAL Team 3, and I was teaching. I had like I think like a 12-week period where I started them right from the beginning. They did hand-to-hand. They learned how to shoot, demolition, and then learning how to room clear. And then we moved it to snipers and helicopters, and, you know, all kinds of stuff going off at the same time. I had them using night vision goggles and silenced weapons. Some groups weren't using those at the time. So I, you know, pushing the envelope. I've always done that my whole career. So I started having them go to. There was it used to be a boot camp in California, in San Diego, and the buildings were abandoned, but it was still there. So I had my guys, you know, they would come in from the water when they're diving, you know, get them off and take their weapons, sneak up and go into the buildings and shoot all the bad guys and all that kind of stuff. Simulation weapons. And then we did the same thing on oil platforms. So I stayed overnight on one of those oil platforms that are for Santa Barbara coast. And Santa Barbara coast has like hundreds of right? Maybe upwards of 100 oil platforms off the coast. And very, very nice there. The dolphins, like, we take our boats out, and the dolphins will be like all around, jumping. And then oil platform, and the great big eggs go down the legs, and we get these giant, right? And the guy on the platforms, you get us some? We're like, of course, you know, I'm all happy. So I was talking to the manager of the oil, and he hinted to me, he's like, In the winter, you kind of don't pump as much. And I was like, why is that? We pump pumping, right? Have all of that. So we hinted replenishes in the winter when they don't pump as much. So all of that oil that was pumped out of Los Angeles is back again. All right. So yes, Los Angeles and all of that area, they have massive numbers of oil platforms now, and they're pumped. They go down and they go at an angle now, and they pressurize these, and they got all kind of techniques now where they get oil out, fracking and all kind of stuff. So, there is massive amounts of oil in America. America has more oil than anywhere else in the world. All right. Now we hear where Venezuela's got lots of reserves, and we thought that the Middle East was the only place where the oil was. That's why we're importing from the Middle East, and then we learned to frack, and so we were fracking. So we're like going up these places where we couldn't go before, and getting all this oil. So California imports tons of oil. It's stupid because communists are stupid. Nazi, communist, Democrats are stupid, right? So you people that are in California are, like I keep telling you, are in trouble. Now, I just was in California in the Irvine area, absolutely beautiful. It's too bad that all of California can't be like Irvine, and probably some other areas. Northern California is obviously quite spectacular as well. But you guys in the big cities, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, unfortunately, where I spent a lot of time. Again, they cleaned it up, and now it's a shithole again. All right, so serious problem. So energetics, consciousness, vibrational fields, all that stuff are not going so well in California. Right, so you guys are in trouble. All right, I've said this over and over. New York, in trouble. Right. I think there can be a rise in consciousness. New York, I doubt it. I doubt it. New York. Now, there's still a lot of beautiful people, not physically. Yes, physically, there's a lot of beautiful people in California, but I'm talking about consciousness-wise, right? But for the most part, a lot of, you drive in the traffic, and there's always the raging assholes of California drivers. Kind of, after having driven to California for decades, I know the assholes who just, oh, there's an asshole. So the guys are like, jam right up and, blow their horns or come right around you. And that's to be expected in California. You're going to have that. But for the most part, the people are good. But they have not, you guys in California have not risen to the challenge. You've built amazing cities in California, but you're letting them be and taken. And you believe it's the government that is in charge, the government that's built them. You, the people, have built those cities. And it's kind of like that one song, we built this city. We built this city on rock and roll. So, these cities were built by us, and we can't let these assholes take them. But unfortunately, some of them will be and have been. So we can learn from the mistakes of cities that have been taken. Of course, Francisco going down, and then many, many others. Yes, you guys know. SL Selly, you knew that one, on rock and roll. So, there's lots of great people in the world, great people in the United States. And then there's some very, very evil people. And we've let them take over. And we've let them set a consciousness space in these cities. And they're the ones that are controlling. They're the ones that are building these cities. They're the ones that are rolling this, driving these cities into the ground. So we have to rise up. We have to stop it, right? And the love consciousness, I know I still say that, and some of you still don't understand. And maybe you'll go to your grave still not understanding, but those of you that do, you can make a difference. So love frequencies, for the love frequency, you know that Newsom and his wife are in trouble, big trouble, because they're exposing the fraud in California. And they're the fraudsters of all of them, you know, the top of the fraudster chain, and they're being exposed massively. Remember how Mike was saying he was sending a lot of love to Newsom? Yeah, I know a lot of you guys did too, and the rest of you keep sending that love. We have them on the ropes, guys. We need to take them down, and we need to take back our cities. We need to take back our country. Lots of love, stay in the love vibration, and I'll see you guys next time.